But yeah, this year I'm going a little bit. I'm hoping to be tabling a little bit smarter. Um, I'm doing Otakon again because I love tabling at Otakon. I got to do it last year for the first time after having been an attendee at Otakon for a very long time. So it was a big deal to me when I got accepted, and I've been accepted again, so I'm excited for that to be returning. I've got Space coming up. After that will be Three Rivers Comic-Con, which is in the Pittsburgh area. And an important thing, in case you've been to it in the past, they've changed venues. So they're no longer in that awful mall they were in last year. Like, no disrespect to Three Rivers Comic-Con. I know it was an awkward situation, and you did what you could with it. But their location last year was in a mall that was shutting down and had no AC to speak of, and like very questionable water, things like that. Like very, I had concerns, and one of my things was I kind of not sure I want to return unless they fix these problems, and they have. So I am 100% excited to be going back. Also because I got to see my friend John, who lives in Pittsburgh, which is always nice. I'll be tabling with the fantastic Kelsey Crawford at that one, who is another cartoonist based out of, I forget if she's right on the border of West Virginia, if she's in West Virginia or right on the border in Ohio, but she and I will be tabling together, and it's going to be fantastic. She was one of the other people that was at Put and Play Con with me, so we're survivors of that. And after that then Otakon. PsychoCon, which unfortunately is a little bit in the air for me. I do have a table, but I also have a family reunion around that time, and figuring out the logistics has been a little bit difficult. So we'll have to see what ends up happening with that, because I'm not dropping Otakon, which would be the other option, but I might have to drop PsychoCon. And if that happens, I will try to get, honestly, I'll try to see if I can get Kelsey my table, because pretty sure that would be something they'd be okay with. I'm going to need to get some electric lines in here, aren't I? Well, let's do. Not entirely sure how that's going to work, but I will figure that out probably on Sunday when I'm doing the coloring. But that'll give me a rough idea of what that's going to look like. All right, we are now down to the last panel. How am I doing? 35 minutes. All right, running a little long, but it will be fine. One thing that will be different from my previous videos, my current plan, and this might change because, like I said, I have a much faster computer now. My current plan is to not actually do the lettering and all of that, because it's kind of weird switching between programs when you're also doing a stream, because the stream takes up a lot of power. Also, I'm hoping that this audio and everything turns out all right. I'll definitely be checking this before Sunday. But I did some quick tests before any of this happened, and let's see, how slashed are you going to be? You're going to be very slashed. You just got electrocuted. I'm in the wrong layer. But yeah, I did some stream tests, and the one problem I found is that the audio was a little tinny, which, if that's bothering you, I apologize. When budget permits, I do plan on getting a proper mic for these things. But, until then, if you wanted me to do that, Patreon's on the screen. Okay, shameless show over. But yeah, like, I would love to just going to turn off these background. She's very much slouching. Following the head a little bit. Yeah, I am. All right. So the painful part to watch is almost done. Next is the inks, which I personally find much more therapeutic. So what should the hair look like? It's going to be mostly up. That's the joke. How much did I have it jump before? Yeah. I'll make it spikier than that even. And have it smoking lightly. Go back to the concerned face in this guy. Have it be a little bit more forward than it was before. So the other comic that I thought about doing would have involved the tablers that I frequently bring in as characters. And a big part of why I didn't, well, two reasons. One, I'd done something about tabling fairly recently. You haven't seen it yet, because like I said, this is strip 95, and currently on the website is 91, like I'm a couple weeks ahead. But, oh, mouse closed, he doesn't have any lines. But, and I try to space this stuff out so that you're not seeing the same stuff over and over again. It was a good time to have a comic about Yoru, the one who just got electrocuted. I'm actually going to make her head larger now that I'm looking at things. Oh. Yeah. I was too quick in making the lightning on her head, or the smoke. Here we go. But the other reason was, whenever I do stuff with those tablers, there's a big cheat I often do, and part of me always wants to hide that. Eventually, I'm going to show it anyway, so I think I'm kind of, I'm kind of tying my hands at this very moment because I'm talking about it. But I do copy and pasting for their table quite a bit. The reason for this is I have them using grids to hang their prints for sale, and I'm not drawing that every single time. It's a pain. It would be absolutely a nightmare to keep up with. So that's something that I pretty much always copy and paste straight from an older strip. I'm going to make her hand lower than it was because she is done. Just a tiny change. Tiny changes like that can really make copy-paste tricks seem much less egregious. I used to have a rule that I would never copy-paste ink because that's much more obvious than when you do it with pencils. I stopped doing this because I realized that quite often, especially because I was working digitally, my inks were so exact to my pencils that it didn't really matter. So I might as well be copying it and saving myself the time. Because in the end, you end up with the exact same level of quality. Moving his head slightly down. There we go. So one of the things I'm trying to figure out about going back to the panel I'm going to be doing at Space is whether or not I need to have an MC to help me with it. And it's only going to be an hour. I've been debating on it. There are a couple people that I'd be happy to have do it. It's a little tricky because it's not really a cosplay convention, but I've thought about trying to get my friend Trixie to take care of it. But I haven't decided whether or not that's the right con for it, since it really is not a cosplay con. I'm also considering a friend of mine named Ian Klesch, who is much more of a comic head, but he just had a kid, so that also makes things complicated. But we will see what happens with it. I could also run it solo. Like, one of the things that part of the reason I'm doing this is so that I can get used to the idea of talking on my own. Although, admittedly, this is definitely a weird example because at the moment, nobody's watching. So this is really just cheaper than a shrink. And turn that off. And the pencils. Oh, one last thing. Yep, that's going to be a funny comic. Save that up. And now, on to doing the line work. Now, I'm probably going to copy and paste the chairs because they really didn't move. Character inks 1. Background inks 1. And this part should go pretty quick. Looks like it has been 45 minutes so far. So hopefully, if you stuck through it, you won't get too bored. The other nice thing about this is inking is a lot less thinky than penciling. Penciling is when you figure out all the important layout questions, and inking is basically just executing them. It's really, really fancy tracing. So it can get very zen. One of the things I notice sometimes, especially when I'm inking a very large open portion, is without even meaning to, I'll unfocus my eyes because very often it doesn't even matter how close you're looking at it. The less you're thinking about it, the more flowy and natural it'll end up. I don't know how useful that is. I've actually mentioned this to other artists, and they're like, what are you talking about? So I might just be crazy, as many people will probably agree. No. And get that arm. One, two, three. I'm doing a stun gun from out of my head. Thought about having a digital one available. Now, here's a question. Do I draw the electricity? Let me lock my chair. I shouldn't be leaning back that far when there's a camera. I'm not going to for now, since I don't think it clips through anything. Actually, yeah, it's probably going to look best if I just have it be in the color, or have it be a separate color, which I could very easily do. So that's probably what I'm going to do. that up and that up. It's funny. I was just wondering if my parents might be in the chat, but then I remembered that they are in France right now. So they are not thinking, they're probably not thinking about home at all. They're actually going to be going very shortly to Israel for the first time, which is very exciting. It's a place that has always been kind of interesting to me. I've never really had the opportunity to go, but it's something that I had been curious about before, and I'm hoping they will have a fantastic time, take lots of pictures. It's a part of the world that I have never been out to, so it should be exciting. I know they haven't been out there either. We've been to France before, and I'm sure that up until their trip, they're going to be having a great time as soon as they've gotten over the jet lag. Whoop. There we go. And I don't know if you saw the blip that was on my screen. Don't know what that was. That just sometimes happens with drawing programs. Yeah, I've been doing work in Clip Studio on this new computer, so I know pretty much how it goes. It's going to be more interesting as Sunday's stream because I'm going to be using Photoshop, which one of the problems with Photoshop is a lot of settings get lost. There we go. When you switch over to another computer. So that